Now I'll call on our good friend and colleague, the Honourable Member for Ottawa Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by recognizing my leader of the New Democratic Party, the Prime Minister, the former House Leader and spokesperson for the Conservative Party, and of course the chef du Bloc Québécois, and say thank you very much for the kind and generous words you said. It reminded me, I must be candid here today, that the words that were said, they were generous, they were kind, and some of them were even accurate. And if my father, if it could be the case, my father would love to have been here to listen to those words, and if my mother could have been here, she would have actually believed them. So it is, of course, especially in this House, when, as has already been said, it's normally the only occasion when we hear such words is when you're starting, so to speak, and when you're leaving. Well, I left once before, and I haven't quite decided what's going to happen after I've heard all these kind comments. I should threaten, I suppose that's the appropriate word, the leaders and spokesperson for the other parties. I was making careful notes about what you had to say about me. I've written them down, and one of my caucus colleagues who knows how to use these electronic gadgets has sent them off to a printer, and I'm assured that they can be on a leaflet. I'm the only member of the House of Commons who can canvass on the way home from this place. I understand it's even technically possible for me to have these leaflets available at 5 o'clock, so be warned. No, I don't expect to come back. And I do appreciate what has been said. And to pick up on what the Prime Minister has said, it has been an immense pleasure for me that to have shared the life experience that goes on in this institution. As he pointed out, not as Prime Minister or as party leader, but as an ordinary member of this institution. It is the lifeblood of a democracy is the elected body, and I have been here for the great debates of my time on the Constitution, on the National Energy Program, on the War Measures Act, on the recognition of the Japanese Canadians, their place in history, and our unpleasant, to put it euphemistically, treatment of Japanese Canadians historically. There have been many, the National Energy Program, many debates that went to the root of what this country is all about, and I have had the great honor, first because of the men and women in the city of Oshawa, my hometown, elected me to be here to take part in those debates, and more recently, the men and women here in the center of Ottawa have honored me with the same kind of decision. It is a great pleasure to take part in such debates, and at their best, they're vigorous, because it's not just theory. Theory, for those of you who know me, is very important to me, but it's theory translated into action. It's our values, and some of them differ, but they're all within the context of democracy. Get laid out on the table about the kind of society that we want, and they have been vigorous, they have been enjoyable, and I've been honored to be a participant in them. I want to say in this context, if you will excuse me, that I was asked not long ago if during my absence Parliament had changed somewhat. And with all the lapses that come with increasing age about accurate memory, and the inevitable propensity to romanticize the past, I do want to say that when I was elected here, Pierre Elliott Trudeau was Prime Minister of Canada, and Bob Stanfield was leader of the Conservative Party. And it is my impression, and I'm not going to try to sort out the reasons for it today, but it is my impression, having been here since the last election, that the tone and substance of debates has in fact changed, and has the question period. I'm not going to attempt any kind of causal analysis of this, but the structure of our Parliament that tends by our seating to tempt us into thinking all virtue, all wisdom, all truth lies on the side that you happen to be on, and all its opposite qualities happen to be on the other, do contribute in some way to this kind of institutionalized conflict, and cause us to forget many times, and I include, je suis certain les membres du Bloc québécois, mes chers collègues.
I'm sure that the members from the Bloc québécois, my dear colleagues from the Belle Province, and I consider it to be the historical heart of Canada, this province, 75% of questions of value.
We share as members of this House 75% of the issues. We are on the same side, or we wouldn't be living in a small L liberal democracy. And so often, because of the structure of this institution, and particularly the question period, we forget that. And we tend to think that those 25% of issues that divide us, and seriously and appropriately divide us, are only what matters. What's more important in many ways as a civilized, democratic, decent country is the 75% of things we have in common. Mr. Speaker, and I want to conclude with this. It's a terrible thing, being both a politician and an academic, two terrible professions for wanting to give advice to others. I conclude with this thought. If those who will be remaining after the next election, whenever it may be, to give some thought about the decline in civility in the debate that has occurred in the House of Commons, that occurs daily in the question period. I think if I were a teacher, I wouldn't want to bring high school students into the question period any longer. To give some serious thought. There's a difference between personal remarks based on animosity and vigorous debate reflecting deep differences of judgment. And see what can be done in the future to restore to our politics in this nation a civilized tone of debate, a tone of debate, in the words of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that acknowledges the human decency and the dignity of all other members of the House, that recognizes, however we may differ, we're all human and we all have the right to have our inner dignity respected, and especially in this House, in debate. Thank you very much.